The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of PSH UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to PSH Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sam here for your usual Thursday show. And I'm on my own this evening. Carl's a bit under the weather, but we have a guest on. And before I start, anybody who's in the States, happy Thanksgiving, because obviously across the pond it is Thanksgiving today. How do I know that? Because I've got American friends. Otherwise I wouldn't know. And this evening we are joined again by Christopher Sutton. Good evening, Chris. How are you?
Good evening, Sam. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good. Or should I say good afternoon for you?
Yes, it is, but I can roll with it. It's good.
So, first off, how's your Thanksgiving been?
Oh, it's been wonderful. We have our because Sam and I were talking earlier. We usually people have their dinners, like towards the evening hours, and my family we do ours at the lunchtime at noon. And so we've had our dinner, and we don't do traditional Thanksgiving. We don't have turkey and things like that. Today we had smoked brisket and pulled pork, and macaroni and cheese and things like that. So it's sort of a barbecue Thanksgiving for us. And so nobody had to cook, which is a good thing. So we ordered it out. And my daughter and her husband and my boyfriend. No, I'm sorry, my boyfriend. No, my daughter and her husband and my son, his girlfriend, and joined my wife and I. And we had a great time. And it's all very good. So it's been a great day so far. And I'm looking forward to this a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't do turkey either, so I know you. I don't like turkey, to be fair.
It's usually when it's cooked like in the oven, things it's kind of dry.
Yeah.
And so you have to pile on a lot of gravy or something like that. But if you can get it to be moist. What a lot of people do over here is they get those big tubs full of hot peanut oil, and they fry the turkeys. And those are actually pretty juicy. Those are actually a lot better than the ones you stick in the oven. So if you ever get a chance to try it that way, I would give it a go because it's actually pretty good.
There we go, guys. You made it on the radio as well. So obviously this evening I'm getting you on, as we spoke before, to talk about your shamanism. Can I call it practices or?
Yeah, I mean, you can say shaman, shamanic practitioner. It is a practice. I would use the term medicine path. It's just kind of what it is. But technically you are correct. It can be a practice. It's something that I often do, obviously, and it's a huge part of my life. And so, yeah, you could say practice, and that's fine too, or practice or medicine path, or however you want to place it. It's our spiritual path. It's all that would all work out.
So, for anybody who obviously didn't listen to when we had you on, whenever it was a few months back, how did you first get into shamanism?
Well, I tell you what, it was all my wife's fault. And she hates it when I say that, but it is true. I had no idea really. I knew the term, and this is 26 years ago. I knew the term. I knew about the Native Americans historically. Here we are, we call it celebrating Thanksgiving here. But a lot of us, it's a day to get together for family, to give thanks for having family and friends. As far as the the reason they call it Thanksgiving initially is because they, the Native Americans helped save the Pilgrims, which came from England, by the way. Anyway, so they helped them through, they didn't grow enough crops and things. And so the natives helped them out and got food and taught them how to plant, corn and things like that. And so that's why it's called, that's why we have that Thanksgiving. Of course, they leave out the part that the next year they had the chief's son head on a pike. And so it was not a good relationship after that first year. So it's kind of seen in some places a way to commemorate Native American atrocities that has happened to them both in the United States and Canada. And so, but yeah, okay. So anyway, back to what I was doing. So I had, I knew about these kinds of things, had no idea about the religion or the spiritual part of, the Native American tribes. And so my wife used to be a powwow dancer when she was in the Girl Scouts. So they're called explorers when they get into high school and whatnot. And so she had always liked that. And so we were at home one day, and she goes, "Oh," she has the paper out, and she says, "Oh, there's a powwow coming." And I said, "Oh, really?" And she goes, "Yeah, I want to go to the powwow." And she explains to me how she used to powwow dance. And I'm like, "Oh, you sure? Why not? It sounds like a good time." And so we go, and I tell you, Sam, if anybody ever has, I know you guys, every once in a while there are powwows in Great Britain, at the Dare stage and whatnot, but if you get a chance to go and do so, it's one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see, with all the regalia, and which is, the clothing they wear, we call it regalia, and the dances, the different types of dances, the fast drums, the slow drums, and it was like a national powwow of all things. We were at, so you had all these different tribes. It was just an amazing spectacle. So I'm taking all this in, and so, but I hear, and from another place, because it's an old county fairground is where it was, and they have barns and things like that where they judge cows and sheep and whatnot. And so I heard drumming coming from this barn, this livestock barn. So I walked in there. And the drumming was very, very intense. I found out later it was a warrior's dance, a gourd dance. And so the drumming was so intense. And all of a sudden, and it's very difficult to explain this, I felt this other world. I felt like I had one foot in this world, and in a foot in, like, I guess, lack of a better term, the spirit world. One was shamanic way of saying that the tonal and the nawal, which the tonal means the normal world, and the nawal is the world of the shaman, of the spirit. And I had my foot in that other world, and it scared the shit out of me, to be honest with you. You expect the trumpets to play, and when you have this great revelation, but it scared me to death. And so I walked out of there quite shaken. And I realized that something had happened to me, that I had been exposed to something that I couldn't turn my back on, that I had to find out what this was. And so I just went, and back then, this is well before the internet. You just couldn't go Google any of this stuff. You had to figure it out. And so I went to, they had lots of vendors there and people selling all sorts of things. I got to a book vendor, and I just looked, and I started looking at these books, and I had nothing, I had no background. I wasn't raised in a religion that was spiritual, anything like that. We were Unitarians, which are secular humanists. Very good philosophers and nice people, but not much on the spiritual part of things. So I didn't know what I was. I had no background, nothing to gauge this with. So I just grabbed the book. I looked at the title. It says Black Elk Speaks, and I grab it and I take it home and read it. And that was how it started. I read the book, and it was about a Sioux, which is or Lakota. That's their tribe is in South Dakota, around North Dakota, area part of the United States. But they pray, and their shamanism, their medicine paths revolve around the pipe, the smoking of the pipe. It's all it's used to pray with. It's used to do ceremony with. It's used to do healings with. And so that was the Chanupa Wakan, which means holy pipe, in Sioux. So I thought, wow, that would be just the coolest thing to do. I would love to learn this. Interesting is when something like this happens, the universe, in my case, I think the universe finally said, okay, well, he finally got it. You know, we had to hit him over the head with it, finally got. And so you let the universe know by saying your intentions that I love this, I want to learn more. And all of a sudden, doors start to open. I mean, I was reading a magazine a month later from Chicago, Illinois, and I lived in a different place. I lived down by St. Louis, Missouri now, but I lived close to Chicago then. And they had a pipe circle. This is where they share the pipe and pray with it. And so I saw it at a metaphysical shop in Chicago. So I call him up and I say, can I come to your pipe circle? I said, yes, come to our pipe circle. And so I meet my first teacher there. It was a female pipe carrier, which is it's not totally unusual, but it's usually that medicine is taught by men first. But no, I had a female and she was great and she taught me a lot of things. But that's how it started right there. It's just, I didn't watch Dances with Wolves or some, really cool Native American movie and say, oh, I got to be like that. It just came and hit me over the head. Basically, it was an amazing event.
Yeah, because I looked up a bit of reading. Well, shall I say I went into the shamanism rabbit hole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is. You can definitely put some, Alice in Wonderland connotations to these things because I tell this a lot. Once you go down, I warn. It's a warning as much as anything else because people want to learn, some of the things that I know and do. I tell them, once you go down the rabbit hole, you're not coming back the same way. It's going to change you, and you have to be ready for that. And that's something that I had to do. I had to change a lot about myself, but still had to keep who I was. Because when I first started doing it, I thought I had to be solemn and all this other crap and be holy, and I became too much like somebody I wasn't. You have to be you have to maintain who you are. And so I realized I'm being false if I can still walk on my medicine path and still be me. I always tell people, I'm telling people I'm a spiritual man. I'm not a holy man because I like to drink a beer now and then and watch football and American football. Although other football is good too. And, and I just had to be, had to weave this into my life in a way that I still remained who I was. My wife kind of thought I was full of it myself for a while, and I probably was. And so that was really interesting. She, and we've married, we'll have been married 30 years in April. And she had, had seen me change. She had, I had never been anything like this before, had never got into anything religious or whatnot. And so she thought I was a bit wonky and that I needed to stop this foolishness. And she tells me this story a few years later that she was sitting at the kitchen table and I was doing something in the kitchen. I think I was doing the dishes or something. And she was thinking to herself that, I'm going to tell him that he needs to stop this. This is stupid, that sort of thing. And she said that I had gone out previously that day and went creek walking and brought home some stones from a creek bed. And one of them was three-sided. And just when she was thinking this three-sided stone started rolling across the kitchen table by itself. And there's no way, it was like I said, it's three-sided, it's triangular shape, so it's not going to roll unless something makes it roll. It's not going to roll its own, even on an incline. So she said she saw that and just sort of reconsidered her position and said, no, I kind of let you go after that because I kind of figured something was going on that needed to happen. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like I'm supposed to do this. And because a lot of times you ask yourself, why me? And I used to wrestle that quite a bit about I don't deserve this. Why did you choose me? And I can read people. I can do stuff. Some type of medium work. Sometimes what you would call medium work in the paranormal field or in other fields as well. I can detect, spirits and things like that. Why, and I quit worrying about why and trying to figure out why me, because you're not going to figure that out. The fact is that it is you, and you chin up and you be yourself and you let it happen. And don't worry about why, and don't worry about anybody. And you cannot worry about what anybody else thinks about you. Because when you start walking a spiritual path, whether it be shamanism or anything else, people, and it's not really something you've done before, people don't expect it out of you, they're going to try to talk you out of it. And you got to let that go. You've got to let yourself be yourself. You got to be able to walk your medicine way, your spiritual way. And, you know, my mother never did agree with it till the time she died. She wanted me to be a barrister, a lawyer. And I just, you know, and she always called it your Indian thing. You know, here I've been on television. I've, you know, done some really neat things, and in and outside of, you know, the shamanism, but always using the shamanism. And it's always, you're doing your Indian thing. And so it's something we never did agree about. But you cannot let that stop you. But that's something that I always tell people, that you will encounter others who were going to try to talk you out of it and say, that's not you. You can't do that. You're full of crap. And you can't. You've got to stick with it.
Yeah. I guess that's in any part of this field, though, isn't it? Whether it's what you do or mediumship, you know, and all that. Right. You're still going to have people like, why are you doing this? Why, you know,
yeah,
you're weird, you're nuts.
Oh, you betcha. I mean, I was very contrary to who I was, you know, because I had friends that, like, you know, and luckily I suppose, when I was going through the formative years of this, I didn't live in my hometown where most of my friends live. We had moved off to go work some other jobs. And that was when this happened. I wasn't at home, and so where I live, we came back here to live again. But yeah, I mean, I was able to form without that type. And my dad was always okay with it. He wasn't quite sure what it was about, but you know, he was always pretty supportive of stuff that I did. But I didn't have to. You know, I'm sure my other friends had heard about it and whatnot. But by the time I got home, we moved back. I was kind of back more on an even footing. Because when you start, and you don't know what you're doing. And you just know that you feel compelled to follow this way. So, you go to my first ceremony, and I've read about how to, conduct yourself in a pipe ceremony or prayer ceremony of any kind. And so I did have that. At least I had some idea. Most people, when they want to go these things, want to start talking. That's the last thing you want to do. And in this type of path, in the shaman path, or this type of spiritual path, you sit and you listen first, because you don't know what you're saying, because you just don't. You sit and listen and follow directions and ask questions afterwards, unless somebody pointedly tells you, you for sure you don't know. You don't want to, do something that's unsacred or something like that. Then you'll ask a question that's usually well received if it's coming from the right place. But yeah, you learn how you're supposed to hold the pipe, how you're supposed to, because you just don't puff on it. When you first draw from it, you want to give the first exhale to the spirits to call it what you want, Wankantanka, which is great mystery, and Sioux. That would be one way of saying it. But there's so many different ways to say it. I tend to say use the word creator, because I don't know what it is, and I don't think that's a mystery anybody can solve until you cross over, as they say. And even then, who knows? Who knows what it is? I just don't know. But then you also offer smoke to each direction to honor the grandmothers and grandfathers of each direction. Has their own spirits. And so you start maybe in the Sioux, you start at the east, go to the south, to the west, to the north, and you puff and you exhale towards that area, towards that direction. And that's about giving respect. And then you hold the pipe up in the way I was taught, and then blessings would come to you. But you always give respect first. If I use sage to cleanse somebody, so I always give the first bit of smoke that comes out, I brush towards the sky instead of towards the person, to give the spirits, show respect to them first, and then get to work. So it's about respecting. Now, I mean, this is the whole animals and everything else. I mean, it teaches you a deeper respect for the natural world, but also respect for your ancestors and for your spirit helpers. And those are things you pick up too, your spirit helpers, your spirit guides, as you go along. And everybody always asks me, how do I find my spirit guides? And I always tell people to get in like a meditative state of your choice and sit down and leave a spot open for somebody to sit next to you and ask them to come join you. and see what happens. And usually it takes several times, but then they start feeling a presence, because your spirit guides are always ready there for you, but you've got to let them know you're interested and you're serious about it, about wanting to meet them. And it takes us a while to peel back those layers between us, because we build layers up between us and the spirit world in our Muggle world. And I can't, God bless Joe Rowling for coming up with that term, because it does explain, okay, we're in the Muggle world and you've got this world of magic, and it is right next to us. We've got to peel those layers back just by allowing ourselves to become more available. It's like paranormal work. When I do paranormal work, it's the same thing. When I do paranormal investigations or house cleansing, I do the same thing. Is try to get in contact with these spirits to see what the heck's going on. What can I do? What can we do to make this work if there's a problem? That type of stuff. But you're doing the same thing, which is why I think I got into the paranormal, because the actions are very similar. You're showing respect to the spirits. If you're going in and say you're gonna mess them up, or taunt them and or make threats, you're getting off on the wrong foot. If somebody comes into your house making taunts and threats, you don't take it too well. So it's the same thing with spirits. So anyway, so that's part of the beginning of the journey, is to learn how to do the ceremonies correctly, and then being able to allow yourself to access the spirit world. Now, in shamanism, there are different ways of interacting with spirits, and there's always, of course, now shamanism is not just, people talk about Native American shamanism. Well, there's 500 different versions of Native American shamanism. That's how many different tribes there are. There are similarities. Some tribes do the pipe, and some of them don't. Some of them use different words, and some go in different directions. I mean, some what you call sunward ways, which is clockwise. You do everything from the left to the right. In waterway, which is the coastal stuff, like the Cherokee or waterway, and so are the Northwest Coast Native Americans, go waterway, which is counterclockwise. You move in that direction when you go in a circle. So there's all these little subtleties that you have to learn. And so, as you're beginning out, you're learning how to do things right. You're learning how to connect with spirits. But in yourself, there's also energies of the earth and sky that you connect with. And I do work, when I do any type of spiritual work, I always try to get connected with both of those. I mean, people say, well, if you do readings, use your own energy. You do the healing, use your own energy. I don't recommend that. You don't have to, because you're going to wear yourself out. That's what's going to happen. But if you're connected to Frank Foolscrow, who was a Lakota Sioux holy man, is an amazing person, from what I understand. I never knew him. I knew people had learned from him. And he would share things with anybody. It didn't matter what color of skin you had. It was, I knew a couple of guys I knew that learned from him were mostly white. And he would teach this thing called becoming a hollow bone. So what you're basically doing is learning to bring in energy from Mother Earth, Inamanka, and from Grandfather, Tunkashila Sky, and bring it both in at the same time, and then using that energy, keeping that flow going while you're doing your work. And it works amazingly. You're not using, you just kind of, it tells you what to do. I never walk into a place with a preconceived notion, this is exactly what I'm going to do. That's my ego would tell me, would tell me something like that, and I tell my ego to shut up at that time, because I don't know what has to happen, what needs to happen. Spirit knows, and so I let Spirit work through me that way. I become a little hollow bone, so the energy of Spirit, of sky and earth and Spirit, can come through and direct my motions in what I do. And so I carry my backpack. I got everything I need in my backpack to do psychic work, to do paranormal work, and do healing and house cleansing work. I do, and prayer work and things like that. And so I got the stuff. I get there where I need to go, and I figure, I kind of feel things, and it comes to me, and that's what I do. So it's about developing a very close and loving relationship with Spirit. And that's the biggest part of it right there. I mean, there's so many different ways to practice shamanism. There's so many different ways to be spiritual. There's so many different ways to investigate paranormal incidents or happenings. It's got to be what's best for you, what works for you, and your connection with the Spirit is what that's where you find out the best way for you to be doing things. The tradition I'm in now, see, I started out with the Sioux. I tell you, you only have to ask me about 4 questions a show, and I can fill up the rest of the time. But I practiced the Sioux tradition for 6 years, or 6 or 7 years. Now, and it's a lovely tradition. I learned so much, and I still actually do some of the things that I was taught there. But it's very structured, and as I go by Coyote Chris, and Coyote medicine is kind of not structured, and so I probably could have worked it out. But I had my heart told me that I needed to make a change in what I was doing, and the Lakota spirits were fine with that. That they were denied. I didn't get that feeling like they were angry with me or anything like that. I was like, okay, no, you're right. And actually, a couple of them I still know. I can still feel around at times, or even I ask them to come, they'll show up. But I got into we moved back to Alton, Illinois, which is where I was from, which, like I said, we're right on the Mississippi River, and across from St. Louis, Missouri, which is a larger city. And so I was here for about a month and thinking, about making a change, or 2 months. And I look in the newspaper one day, and here's the universe working the way it does again. And I see this ad in the newspaper, and it says, come see Johnny Moses, the Siwis medicine tradition of the Pacific Northwest Coast. And it's a university close by, Southern Illinois University. And so I drove to that event and met Johnny and some of the people in the Red Cedar Circle, of which I remember now, that we have a group there at the university. And so I switched to that medicine, and there's similarities and differences of that too, in that they don't use the pipe, but the drums and songs and stories and healing work was different. The ceremonies are different, but they weren't as structured, and the healing ways of doing healing work better for me. And so I've learned a lot from Johnny, and he lives out in California, but he gets to our area every once in a while. And another friend of mine, Bill Cote, he lives in Washington State in the Northwest of the United States. And so learned a lot of different things. And they do a thing called spirit traveling, where you do some chants, and it's while you're in circle, while you're in ceremony. And you just kind of let your mind go, and it takes you to where, you need to go, and you meet with the spirits and whatnot. So that's one way of what we call spirit journey or journeying. Another way, this is called core shamanism, which just means it's pretty endemic of a lot of different traditions, to where, and actually there's a book called The Way of the Shaman by Michael Harner, and that's from the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. You can actually Google that group and read about a lot of this kind of stuff here, what they call core shamanism. It's not really attached to any particular tradition, Native American tradition, or any, there's stuff from the Siberian shamans and all, and it's all just kind of boiled down to so they call it core shamanism. In that case, you use drumming to journey, or it's like part of you goes to another place is the best way to describe it. And you begin by you concoct it in your head is what you do, but when you're in that influence of spirit, you can manipulate yourself to go another place or send yourself to another place. I can't put any. It sounds simple. It sounds weird, but I can't put any. It's hard to explain. If you read that book, it probably explains it better than I can. I just do. I don't really talk about it a whole lot, unless I'm teaching somebody. But in that case, you go to a place that you construct in your head at first, and it kind of changes the shoot where it is, and that's where all of a sudden you start meeting spirit guides and animal guides. And that's actually, when I do healing work, I call on the bear, and that's where I first met the bear. I was journeying one time, and it jumped out at me from behind a tree, and so that's how I met Bear. And that's how the journeying part works, to get into that spirit world. So there's different ways of doing that. And some people use grandfather peyote. Peyote ceremonies are. A lot of people are big into ayahuasca. I never pronounce it correctly, which is a hallucinogen from Peru, from South America. I have never encountered any. It's never been presented to me, so I've never done hallucinogens. I'm not against it. It's just, the way that I was taught not to use those things to get to journey where I need to go without having to use that. So, but yeah, there's just so many different ways of doing it. But and you kind of but I'm in the way that works best for me. Somebody else, they are affiliated with the Native American Church, and they do peyote. And let their grandfather peyote take them on their ride. So, yeah, it's a lot of different stuff.
And we had a question in the chat room going back to your smoking of the pipe. I don't know if you can answer this or not, but Richard asked, is it regular tobacco or a special mix?
That's an excellent question. Most people use regular tobacco. Eastern tribes had tobacco. They used tobacco. Now you can, I would say most people use a type of, they always use like a pipe tobacco that wasn't like cherry flavored or something like that. It wasn't flavored tobacco. And there's also a brand called, what is this stuff called? It's Native American tobacco or something like that. It's mostly more pure. People would use that. Now, in the Sioux tradition, it's hard to get this stuff. That's called knik, and it's a mixture of bark and some other stuff that they would cut real fine. Because in the plains back then, they really didn't have tobacco when they were smoking the pipe. So they would make this mixture from tree bark, and use that instead. I've heard some people wanting to put marijuana and things like that in a pipe. That would be a big no-no when you're smoking a chanupa. I would never do that. That's not what it's for. I'm not against smoking marijuana at all. I just wouldn't do it out of a holy pipe. But no, that's an excellent question because some people use different things. The Cherokee used tobacco because they used the Sioux pipes. The chanupas are pretty big. They're pretty long. You got the bowl and the thing, and it's kind of in a T shape. And then a long wooden stem, and you would hollow out. You would take like a larger limb, and you would get rid of you would hollow out, where the core of the wood is, and then you would you'd take a rock and sand it down, and make it like that. Now, as I recall, a Cherokee pipes are made out of clay, and they're smaller, but they had tobacco. They used tobacco where the Sioux would use sage. That stuff that grows wild up there too, and so they would use the sage as a cleanser. The Cherokees used tobacco. They would always take the first cut of meat and pass it through a cloud of tobacco to bless it. So they had regular tobacco. I mean, it's not whatever it was then, but they would use tobacco in their pipes. So yeah, it depends on the area you're in with what you had. And you smoked what you had. You had to figure out. Well, you can smoke. You can't. If you smoke sage, it'll make you sick. You don't want to smoke sage. But usually, if I was to use a chanupa today, it'd probably be regular tobacco, some type of unflavored tobacco. Because I don't know, you can still buy knik, I believe. I think people still make it. I just haven't seen it for a long time.
So, this may seem like a daft question, but this is obviously a question of me, so it probably is going to be daft.
No, there's no such thing as a daft question. No.
But it obviously got me thinking. So when you smoke this pipe, does it act like a relaxation method? So you can go into trance or?
No, it's not what it's used for. I mean, some people have that reaction to tobacco. I've heard people say that, and it's probably not untrue. It never did that for me. It was never the purpose. Well, I smoked it. I mean, you can, and there's nothing wrong with going out by yourself and smoking your pipe and relaxing. And it's the thing about the pipe is it's always an act of prayer. I'm focused on spirit, and if I have a problem, I'm smoking, and I still would do the same thing. I would, give a puff to each direction and to the earth and to the, to the sky. But yeah, I mean, in that sense, You can. I mean, it's adaptable. You can do that, but for leisurely smoke after dinner or something like that, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I guess you could. It's not. It was something I was taught that was, we use the pipe when you're doing something spiritual, not relaxing and focusing on your spirit self and on your spirit guides. That's perfectly fine. You can do that. So no, that's a legit question. It's because there are some, that's the way I was taught. Somebody else may have been taught differently and from a different tradition. I don't, it depends on which tradition you follow. Now the tradition, I mean, now doesn't use a pipe at all. So, and since I quit smoking cigarettes 16 years ago now. And so I'm very leery about getting around tobacco because I'm very, I was very addicted to cigarettes. I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day for many years and so on. But the only thing I've smoked since then was a pipe. I've been to pipe ceremonies since then, and where somebody else is hosting and I smoke. That's the only time I ever smoked tobacco. Is when I use a pipe. That's because it's what it's used for. It's used in prayer. So yeah.
So what type of do you focus on? Do you focus on meditation to get you into the shall I say state?
That's exactly right. You are exactly. It is a state. It's a different state. It's a state of heightened awareness. And I remember I talked earlier about the hollow bone. That is actually a meditation, as well as because there's a process to it. You start off by taking 7 deep breaths. And 7 was, and again, this was a Sioux holy man who taught this. 7 was a sacred number in the Sioux, 7 and 4. And the reason you have 4 directions, you have Mother Earth, you have Grandfather Tunkashla, Father Sky, and then Wankantanka. And so you have 7, 7, not deities, but pieces of spirit, so to speak. And so. So yeah, you start off with doing 7 breaths, 7 deep breaths, and you maintain a pretty deep breaths while you're doing this whole thing. And so it just takes practice to do, but you take 7 deep breaths. And if you're at home, if you listen to this, you want to take this down, be my guest. Otherwise you could probably go online and put in becoming a hollow bone. Would probably pop up. You'd probably be able to find it there too. So while you're doing that, okay, so you've done your 7 deep breaths, you continue to breathe. And then as you're standing there, I always try to do the standing. You can do it sitting. Because make sure you have your feet flat on the floor. And you don't have to be on the ground itself, but you got to have your feet flat on the floor. And you, in your mind, feel and see the energy of Mother Earth coming up to the bottom of your feet. And it goes up to the bottom of your feet, past your ankles, up your shins, your calves, up, rest your leg, through your thighs, up through your torso, through your chest, out your arms, into your head. So you've got this energy. And now here's the cool thing about energy. And as you practice this, you'll see this happen. You can tell it to start doing something, and it keeps doing it. It will keep doing what you tell it to do. And so this whole process, you're feeling this energy from Mother Earth coming through you, and you're continuing to breathe. And then after a while, when you let the energy of Mother Earth come all the way through you, then you ask Father Sky to bring energy into the top of your head. Now, some people say that's a crown chakra. Good enough. You can call it that. And bring in the energy of Father Sky down through your head, down your neck, out your arms, down your chest, down your torso, down your legs, and all the way down to your feet. So you've got the energy of Mother Earth coming through. You've got the energy of Father Sky coming through, mixing through you. And you've got balance. You've got masculine and feminine energy, which we all have. And that balances that and intensifies what you already have. And so you're allowing other energies to come through you. So you're going to keep your breathing and keep feeling this energy coming through you from the 2 directions, from the earth and the sky. Now, in your mind, picture somebody that you're very close to, that you love, like a close family member. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they're depressed. Maybe they're had a run of bad luck. Maybe they need some picking up. And you focus on that person's face in your mind. It's like a movie screen. You see that person on the movie screen, and you send energy. You just see white energy going into them. into that picture. And guess what? That's actually going to happen because you are directing. You've heard about the power of prayer, distance prayer. Okay, and doctors, they've tested, said it actually works, because when a group of people do that, all the energy, they're focusing that energy on the person they want to help heal, and it actually gets to them. So that's what you're doing. You're giving that to another person. So in a way, you're kind of healing yourself first, because this energy is very healing, because it's going to knock all this nasty energy out of you while you do it. And so you focus on that, and then you think of somebody like in your community that's around you, maybe somebody works in a certain shop, or a friend at work that is going through tough times. Whatever it is, maybe they're down their luck, they're depressed, they're sick, maybe they have cancer, something like that, and you send that energy. You see them, you put their face then up on that movie screen, you send them that energy, and it's flowing out. And you still, at the same time, you've got the energy of Mother Earth coming through you, you've got the energy of sky coming through you, you're still breathing deeply, and you've done this. And so then the last thing you do is you think of the world. And there's lots of bad things going on in the world. And you can pick a country, you can pick a group of people, you can think of one singular person and put them up on your movie screen and send that energy to whoever you want to send it to out in the world. And by that time, you become a hollow bone that spirit can work through. And it's a meditation. You're gathering energy. Now I am ready to do anything. I can do psychic work, I can do healing work, I can do paranormal work, because I've got my energy up and going. And I am in that other state. And I look really crazy when I'm in that state too. I rock, on my feet and back and forth. And that means I'm in that. And I can feel the energy come out of me if I'm doing healing work. I can feel other energies coming from the spirit that wants to communicate, all sorts of things. But also I can protect myself better too, because I can also make the energy come in around me and harden up. And so something can't get through if a spirit's trying to bug you, or if a person's coming to the room who has a very foul countenance to them. How somebody walk in the room, you can feel it. They're so negative. You just throw those up, because there's always somebody out there, and everybody knows these people who wants to steal every ounce of energy you may have to suck it in for themselves. This stops that too as well. It's a multi-use meditation and exercise it's healthy for you, it's protective for you, and it's also good to help others. In my tradition, I'm in the Sasiwas medicine tradition, we believe that everybody has a gift from spirit, everybody has a gift from God. And this is what is called your medicine. And the first thing you do with your medicine is figure out what your medicine is. What is your gift? And it could be so many different things. Some people are good at motivationally speaking to others and lifting people's hearts. Some people are good at listening. And that is a wonderful gift that people take for granted, because I know not many people can listen well. They can talk well, they don't listen well. And whatever it is, in my case, my gift was to be able to walk the path I walk. And so the first thing you do, though, everybody thinks, oh, now I can go out and help other people. No, you fix yourself first. When I first started this path, I was a bloody mess psychologically. I was depressed. I was empathic. I didn't know it. And I worked with very damaged children who were sex offenders, but also were sexual victims of sexual offense, of sexual crimes. And so what they would send out, all their pain and suffering and their anger, I would take it in. I didn't know why. I didn't know why I felt this way. And after I got walking my path, I figured, okay, somebody said, idiot, you're an empath. You're sucking all this energy in. So I learned how to do this, how to shield myself. And so I had to learn first. I had to fix myself first. I had no business trying to heal anybody. I had to heal myself. And I've worked in social service. I've worked with, even my regular job. That's what I do. And I see a lot of people out there, they're going to save the world. And so many of them stumble now. So many of them stumble because they've got so many issues themselves that, the wounded healers are the best healers, because they're there, they've been there, they know what the hell's going on. But you have to heal yourself first before you can put your hand out to somebody else who's suffering like that. Otherwise, you just join them in suffering because your own issues kick up. But when you've healed yourself, allow yourself to be healed. And I mean, I did my medicine path. I went to therapy. I did a bunch of stuff to get right. But now I can reach my hand out to somebody, and my own issues won't kick into it. I've made peace with myself. And so, because I was, like I said earlier, I was in a bad spot, very bad. But now that I've gotten through it, I can lend that aid. But yeah, you're in that meditative state, a state of heightened awareness. Your doors of perception are much cleaner to this other world. It just makes it, and it makes you actually, because you're all focused on in the present here and now, it makes you a better person, I think, because then you're thinking about other people and not just thinking about yourself.
And I guess if you find people who have been on the same journey as you before you even start this path, you make a better connection with them and you can support them more if obviously they want to do the same thing as you. Right.
That is true. I see people all the time ready to walk this path. And I do relate to other people who've been through. You do relate to people who have been through what you've been through. I mean, if anything, just for the fact that Spirit is giving you this gift, and it's hard to explain. And I've worked really hard to be able to explain the best I can to others, but you get to somebody who's been on it, you can talk in more of a shorthand because they've been in the same spot. But what's kind of conversely interesting is that a lot of people come to me who don't know why they come to me, and it's because they're on the verge of something similar to what I was on the verge of, 20-something years ago. And Spirit has seen it, that it's a good thing to do that, to send that person to me. Now, I don't usually I teach a class here. Now, I don't take apprentices generally, anything like that, but I know I'm very good at sending people where they need to go. And so that's kind of my job, I guess. That's part of my job, is to help people shine a light on their spiritual path, but also to shine, my tagline, Scotty Chris Sutton, bringing light to the darkest places, whether that darkest place is in your house or in your heart, and to bring light and to bring answers and to show you how to find your way to where you need to be. So I do healing work and things like that. It's with that goal in mind, to help somebody get themselves back together so they can find their own path. And it's like a circle. You're in a circle all the time. You meet people who've been there, and you meet people who haven't. And you've got camaraderie and whatnot, and fellowship with your peers, and it helps you when you're helping other people who have no clue whatsoever of what it's all about. And so it's it's a neat little it's a neat path. I meet lots of really interesting people.
So going on to a little bit what you do you work, because obviously I've seen you on your profile photo as you working with a drum. Is that how you is that the, I don't want to say equipment, but is that the item which you use more when you do your shamanism?
My drum, I always take my drum with me. I have my drum. I have my backpack, which I have my healing. I have, I use I have some different stones. Most of them are quartz crystals. I keep sage and cedar. I also burn cedar sometimes. That's Sasiwas. Sasiwas doesn't use sage. It uses cedar, because cedar trees in the northwest coast. They're not cedar. There's not sage bushes. And by the way, Sasiwas means sacred breath. That's what that Sasiwas means, a sacred breath. I mean, we all carry the sacred breath with us, and that's it's called that. Also, in my bag, I've got a rim. I've got like a rudimentary rim pod, a millimeter, a K2 meter. And everybody says, well, I don't usually use that kind of stuff. I mean, I go by what I think and what I feel and what I divine from what's around me. But people like to see flashing lights and stuff, and so, you bring that stuff too, and like flashlights and things like that. And also, I use Native American tarot cards when I do psychic readings, because people like to see stuff, and I like tarot cards because they tell a story. You lay out a story, you can tell people what the story is. And so all that stuff's in my backpack. So if I'm doing healing work, I use my drum. I have a rattle as well. I don't carry it around with me. I have certain feathers that I use when I'm smudging somebody or cleansing somebody, and I use some of those stones. Again, I don't know when I'm going to use them, why I'm going to use them. I just have them with me, and when the feeling's there, that's what I do. I use those. But it's all, like I said, I could throw it all in my back and I can carry it all with me whenever I need to. But the drum, I use a drum for a lot of different things. When you're doing healing work, you start off by drumming. And so basically, when I'm doing healing work, in the Sasiwith tradition, you set person in a chair facing the east, and we circle up around somebody, and we play the drums and sing. And that, brings a good, the drumming is good because it makes your mind, it brings your alpha waves down, brings your beta waves up, which makes you more accessible to spiritual energy and things like that. There is some brain chemistry behind it. And you sing the songs, the healing songs, and the spirits respond to that as well. So that's a big part of the healing work. I use it in house cleansing, again, for the same purpose, to call the spirits. I've actually started using it like a year or so ago. I started doing it when doing investigations. I started hanging around outside of these places and getting people in a circle and playing some songs and talking to the native spirits. Because you can't really set foot any place in the United States without you being on some type of native ground at one time. And so we circle up, and I lead the folks in like a drum circle type of situation. We sing songs. We talk to spirits and say, hey, we're here to listen. We're not here to hurt you. We understand you've been hurt, and show lots of empathy, which I do have for those spirits, because I think they got a really raw deal, and so they respond very well. That you can see them come up. I was at a place, and some of you or your listeners may have heard of the Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York. Mm-hmm. Very haunted place. And my friend of mine, Dan Klass, owns the house. And we did this. I went there. It was 2 years ago. I've been there last 2 years, but the first year we went there, and we did it last time too. But the first time we went there, we did the drumming circle thing and talked to the spirits, and the little machines start lighting up. And after we got through drumming and singing, there was about a 10-second delay. No, it must probably pretty close to a minute. We had stopped and we were finished, and all of a sudden we heard return drumming coming out of the enchanted mountains there where that's at, and that was such a neat experience there that they seemed to appreciate so much that they drummed back to us, because there's no tribes around there now. There are reservations, but not where we were at. So yeah, that's become my new passion. Is to and I've always mixed my shamanism with my ghost hunting, and so just to do this outside place. Some of these places, and you've probably seen this, Sam, where you don't know why some place is haunted. Nothing dreadful's happened. There's no murders, no nothing, but wildly active. And what we started figuring out, I kind of figured out. My belief is that some of these places are built on sacred ground of some sort. The natives knew what these places were, and actually you can feel. And if you walk some type of path like shaman path or something where you're doing a lot of energy work, you get into an area and it feels different. It feels more powerful. And the natives were tuned into that stuff, and so they would actually use those types of spots to do ceremonies and things like that. And we're starting to kind of feel that might be why some places are haunted, is because they're on a power spot. And the spirits are attracted to power, to energy, and so that they'll show up there. And it's just a theory. I've had lots of good results with it, but like anything else, who really knows the rules? There's tons of theory out there, but shit, I quit trying to wrap my head around it. I leave that to other folks, and I've got some friends that are really into that, and that's great. That's why you need all sorts of people who do all sorts of different things in this field. Because it all works together. But yeah, I just realized that I just deal in matters of energy, and I know what I feel, and other people will back up, because they'll feel something too. So, but yeah, that's the drum is just, I have a lot of pictures of me with the drum, and I even have a little special bag for it. I have because it's hard to get on an airplane. if I go to Hinson, I have to fly. I can't. It's just too long a drive to go to New York for me, so I have to fly. And so I've got a nice. It's actually a bag that you put drum cymbals in from a drum kit, like for regular drums. And I just stick it in there. It's got padding in it. Yeah, it fits right underneath the seat on an airplane. And so I've been blessed. I found the right kind of bag for it, so I can take it with me. I don't want to put it in my luggage. I'm scared to get broke. So it's a very,
you probably would.
It would. Oh, and I tell you what, if I go someplace on the plane, and you know how in the United States how they take this stuff really seriously about checking luggage, and I don't know what's like over there, but they're really quite into it here, and with good reason, I suppose. You hate to see it, but it's sort of the sign of the times. But I always get that little note in my suitcase that says we checked your luggage, because they'll see they'll put it in under the X-ray machine when they're loading it up, and they see I've got stones and things like that in there, and they just don't know what it is, and so my stuff gets opened, and so my bag gets tossed almost every time.
So about that, I'll tell everyone a funny story, because I've not really told anyone this, but when me and Carl went to Vegas earlier in the year, I've noticed that my case had been opened.
Yeah.
They hadn't called me over or anything, and it's because I had herbs in there, and obviously they must have thought he was sorted up.
Yep, you thought you were smuggling weed into the United States there.
Yeah, because must admit some of it did look a bit like weed, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I say if I carry sage, I always carry a wand of it, so you can tell exactly what it is. I never carry anything loose like that, because if you look at me, I'm tattooed up a bit and things like that, and so they would probably strip me in my shorts if I had something like that. So I'm not going. I don't give them a chance doing like that. And I always put that in luggage. I check. I never put any of my medicine stuff in my carry-on. It all goes in the big bag. Let them check it there. They're not going to stop me in line. They already got me once. She thought I was carrying something. I said, but I have two artificial hips, and so they're metal. And so I got stopped, and I got the wand out on me, because I said I've got an artificial hip. He goes, oh, okay, and let me go. But yeah, it's they take that very seriously.
Yeah, I think I got away with it because it did actually say what it was on the back.
Yeah, if it had been an unmarked bag, you'd still be in Las Vegas right now.
Hey, I wouldn't be bothered if I wasn't in jail. I love Vegas.
Oh goodness. When's the SageCon? That's come and gone?
Yeah, but the Sage Paracon 5 is. Oh, I'm gonna probably get it wrong, so I'll have to tell you. I'll have to, because if she listens to this and I get it wrong, girl, yeah. Yeah. So we have a few minutes left of the show. Where would you like to say anything you're up to for the rest of the year or next year?
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you where you can find me. I do have a website. It's www.coyotechris.com. Right now, it's good for reading up about me and looking at some pictures of people I've taken, but it's not up to keeping things up to date. I'm at a website anyway, because I can't get it to change a certain picture, so I'm not happy with it. But until I get somebody to straighten it out for me, you can go there. It's got about me and things like that, and I'm still putting my schedule together for 2020, so that will be updated soon. On Facebook, if you go to Christopher Sutton. And, of course, there's obviously plenty of Christopher Suttons. And I know Sutton's a big English name because we're part English. But you see, it'll say Godfrey, Illinois. That's the city I live in. And it's got a picture of me whacking my drum like I always do. And so that you find that on my other page, Facebook page is Coyote Chris Sutton. You can find me there. On Twitter, I'm at Coyote Chris S. And on Instagram, I'm at Coyote Chris S as well. I'm done with events for the year, and I'm thankful. I had such a long year. Did lots of traveling, and then I had 2 surgeries I got 2 hip replacements, and so I'm kind of glad this year's over. And hopefully, I have a CD. I actually recorded a CD this year of drumming songs of me singing and doing drumming, and there's actually a song on there too that I actually wrote myself. I'm not sure how good it is, but I put it on there anyway. And my friend who recorded all this for me played guitar for it. So that'll be coming out, and I'm trying to start working on a book here pretty soon. I keep saying that, but my father was an English teacher, and he was a good man. He certainly never, was not mean about my English, my writing. Listen, I'm not a bad writer, but I'm so bloody. Every time I write something, I'm so critical of it. It's hard for me to do it. I can sit here and talk. For me, I can sit here and talk all day. When it comes to writing, I'm like, oh, this should go here, or this I should use this word. I think I should write like Tolkien or something like that. One of my favorite authors. And I always look at my eyes at that, and I failed miserably. But a friend of mine who's a publisher, he just says, just write a journal. I said, oh my God, that's brilliant. I don't have to worry about, I just write down what I did, and I'm like, oh shit, that's perfect. And so, yeah, that's my big challenge for this winter is to get a book tacked out. I'm going to call it On Sacred Ground, about a lot of stuff we were talking about, how I got to be where I am today, and then some of the places that I've investigated with my drum and my shamanic abilities, and what came out of that by using the technique I was talking about. So yeah, that'll be coming out too. So, but yeah, before too long, I do have some dates for 2020. So those will be coming up. I will be going back to Hinsdale in New York in June. So look for that if you're from around that part of the States, or bless your heart, if you want to come over from England and join us, you'll be more than welcome. So I'll be back there in the later June. Where's some of the places I'd be going to? I'm going to Michigan Paragon, which is a monster Paragon.
I'm going Michigan this year. Well, I'm not going Michigan next year. Should I say?
You're gonna go next year?
No, I'm not going the August one. I can't make it. No.
I'd love to meet you guys sometime. So just let me know when you're going to go someplace big in the States, and I'll try to hook up with you. The Fort Wayne Fright Fest, I'm going to that. That's a pretty big one. And so, and I do other stuff. I mean, I'm going to be doing other investigation events and things like that. I do a lot of work here around my area because we have Alton, Illinois, one of the most haunted small towns in the United States. I would love to come to England and investigate, though, because of all the history and everything. Just to see it would be very cool. So but to experience some of that would be very neat. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I stay busy, and but I'm looking for looking forward to a slow winter here where I get some other things done and work on some other on some other drumming stuff and whatnot, and just recharge the batteries, so to speak.
Yeah. So we've come to the end of the show now. Just a quick one before we both say goodbye, guys. Want to thank everybody, the usual, listening in and talking in the chat room. If you miss any shows, you can obviously go back on the Spreaker app. So it's a good night from Chris.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And please give Carl my best and say, my wishes and prayers for him to get better.
Yeah, I will do. And it's a good night from me, guys.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on PSH Radio.